Is all this anti-Semitism orchestrated? Hey guys, it's John here in the studio drinking my mug of coffee as usual. For having coffee with me. Thank you for joining me for coffee this morning, or tea, depending on what you're doing. Just a couple of friends sitting around the table drinking their coffee or tea. I got a comment that came in, and I want to dive in. It actually has two comments. It has the main comment, and someone commented alongside of it. And I'm going to start with a comment, and then I'm going to dive into the comments she got from someone else. Here's the first comment. I am not religious, but respect those who are, as it gives them a sense of who they really are, a spark of God. I have been there and know that feeling. I love the Jewish ceremonies. I love the integrity and sense of community they have. I did explore their faith for a while, but having had an encounter with Jesus once, I didn't really fit in. So back to my being spiritual, not religious. All this anti-Semitism has been orchestrated for a long time. It's the old oppressor versus the oppressed mentality. The Jews always thrive, and we don't like that. So we constantly make it hard for them, but despite that, they do. So this comment here is the first comment, and like I said, someone responded to this, and I want to talk about the response as well. Let's talk about the first line. I'm not religious, I respect all who are, gives them a sense of who they are, a spark of God. Well, a spark of God is a very interesting perspective because not all religions do that, and many specifically do not do that. Christianity being one. They do not think of you as a spark of God or one with God. They think of their Jesus as the spark of God, and we follow him, the spark, right? But in reality, the spirituality tells us that we are part of the oneness of God, and that is found across many different cultures and religions. And so not all religions teach people their oneness with God, which is what this first sentence kind of implies. You said you love the Jewish ceremonies and the integrity and sense of community they have. I have found that all religious groups have community of some kind. Locally here, there's a Unity Church, which is Christian themed, but it's a beautiful congregation because they also bring in Buddhist monks and they bring in speakers. I personally have spoken there, but they have their Sunday service, but then people hang out for several hours after the service for coffee and cake and hang out, and they have community there, and so it's really kind of beautiful. But you can find community or ceremonies on almost every religion, and you like the Jewish ceremonies, and that's beautiful, that's wonderful. If it rings true to you, then that's where you lean. But you then go on to say you had an experience with Jesus, who I would call Jeshua, and so it didn't fit in with that messianic belief. Their ceremonies can be beautiful. Christian ceremonies can be beautiful. I used to love midnight mass for the incense and the singing and all that. But yeah, it's very religious ceremonies can be absolutely lovely. Then we get into this comment. All this anti-Semitism has been orchestrated for a long time. Now, what you've done is you've chosen to defend one religion over others. And that's kind of a slippery slope, because the reason that there's the anti-Semitism is because originally is because they're anti-Semitism. The Jews denied what Christians believe, and so they literally said, "No, you're wrong," right? And so there all these cultures are saying. Then you get into Islam. In Islam, once again, it's kind of the Prophet Muhammad was a prophet, right? Islam actually respects Judaism and Christianity, and right in the Quran says that is just their way to God, basically. They're all praying to the same God, just through the teachings of different prophets. And so it's a very interesting thing. I don't particularly care for your thought that Jews always thrive and we don't like that. I don't like your your broad generalization of we, right? Because you're saying everybody else is against Jews. I disagree with you entirely. I think that everything you're talking about is a product of religion and religion's desire to be right. And whether you're Muslim, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Christian, whether you're Baha'i, whether you're Hindu, whether you're Buddhist, does not matter what religion you are. There's always going to be somebody who's out to get you. And the reason they're out to get you is not because you're wrong. It's because they have to be right. I put out video after video after video. I have Christians frequently tell me I'm deluded, I'm an antichrist, I'm a false prophet. And I just understand that that's their religion judging me, right? And so you're very much defending the quote the Jews, but in reality, what you're defending is the religion of Judaism. And I think we need to stop getting into offensive and defensive stances around religions in general. And your stance in this comment is, the Jews always thrive and we don't like that. So we constantly make it hard for them to thrive, despite what they do. You're literally saying the rest of us are out to get Jews. And I completely disagree with that statement whatsoever. I think personally, for me, all religion should go away because it has done nothing but harm the world since its inception. But right now in this world, people are into their tracks of religion, and it's just the way it is. But what's really interesting is all of the religions are going away slowly, especially Christianity. 54% of their congregations have peeled away from their faith over the past 20 years. So it's a very big difference. Now let me dive into the response here, because the response here is angry. It's an angry response that somebody gave. Being against the government is not being against the people. I can dislike North Korea, meaning the government, and not have an issue with the ordinary folks. I can be horrified by Putin, but have nothing against Russians. I can even strongly oppose Hamas and not hate Palestinians. But I'm supposed to be okay with Netanyahu being a child-murdering psychopath just because Israel? No. I oppose the Iraq War. It was based upon a lie. We've seen that Netanyahu hid knowledge of the Hamas atrocity that he knew was coming, which is a lie of his own people. And then it goes into a bunch more and more political stuff. It mentions Trump and Putin and, supporters, and then we get down to the bottom of this statement. I don't hate them. I see them as propagandized sheep being herded, fleeced, and even slaughtered. And a bad person does not get an out because they claim affiliation to God or Jesus or anything else. This is not hard to understand. It is not anti-Semitic to not approve of cruelty and abuse. I do agree that it's not anti-Semitic to disapprove of cruelty and abuse. What this statement here totally talks about is and I love the word propagandized use of religion to seize land, seize power, seize government controls, to seize ways of making more and more money. It's all the love of money run amok. It's all the love of power run amok. None of it's loving from any angle, any side, anywhere. And when you look at it from the perspective of, if God is love, where in any of this is love? Where in any of it? Hamas did a horrific, terrible thing. The Israeli government has done terrible, horrific things to the Palestinian people. And they're saying we're attacking Hamas. Well, There's been lots of pictures of kids who weren't Hamas who've been killed and destroyed, right? And the same thing with in Israel. Hamas attacked those kibbutz, and next thing you know, there's all this horrible stuff that went down, right? In the United States, 9/11, people died like crazy. We had 3,000 people died in the initial attack, I think it was. We started the war against supposedly Osama bin Laden and Al Qaeda, and somehow that war got morphed over to Iraq, the second oil-producing company in the world, and while I was over there on USO tours, I literally missed a flight one time because oil execs were making deals. So it's all about the money. It's all about the profits. It's all about the power and the control. And the thing is, religion is the tool for that power and that control. But none of it's loving. In the Bible it says the love of money is the root of many evils. Now, I said that we lost 3,000 in the initial attack on 9/11. In Iraq, they've lost over 600,000 locals. Now, not all of them were soldiers. Many of them were definitely not. Probably the majority of them were definitely not. There has been more. The United States has done more damage in those countries than they did to us. And, it's all not loving. It's just not loving. It's not caring. It's not in any way, shape, or form a product of love, product of God. And when George Bush told the Saudi prince God told him to invade Iraq, right? It was his quote unquote Christian God. That was his excuse. It was his reason to the Saudi prince why he invaded Iraq. That was the excuse he gave himself to say he could. So religions of all sides have done bad things. You can go on right now and you can find whole websites about Israeli terrorists. They're not as publicized as Muslim terrorists, right? They're not as publicized as Christian terrorists who used to bomb abortion centers and blow up government buildings in Oklahoma. It was a Christian who did that, right? There's this little guy with a funky mustache back in the 30s, baptized as a Catholic, ended up dying in a bunker next to his girlfriend. Little funny mustache. All of those are based upon their religious justifications to wage war for power and money. And I don't care what side of the argument you're on. And many people will get mad at me for this video because I'm not taking a side. I don't think any of them are right, because none of them are loving. None of them are doing loving things. I look at Gaza in general. To me, I look at Gaza. It looks like the movie Escape from New York. They've created an open air prison that people can't leave. That people can't have. They have a hard time getting food and clothing and electricity and all those things. And the first thing that happens when there's a conflict is they lose their water, they lose their food, and they lose their electricity. It's like it's control on all sides. And I don't think at this point in history you can blame one or the other, because it's been going on for so long. It's been back and forth since the beginning. And so you really can't blame one or the other. All you can really do is blame their justifications, and their justifications are religion, right? But it really is about power and money. And those things are the love of money, the love of power, the root of many evils. And I wanted to make this video because I see the person responding being very angry about the idea of the way it was stated earlier. And I agree with the fact that you could be mad at the mistreatment of people in North Korea and be mad at the government of North Korea for doing that. but not hate the North Korean people. And the statement above literally says the rest of the world is against the Jews, and literally lumps us all in who aren't Jews. We don't like that. We constantly make it hard for them to thrive. I disagree with you entirely on that. That part of the world has been a mishmash of atrocities against each other for thousands of years. And the only thing you've done in your initial comment here is take a side. And none of them are right over there, because none of them are being loving. So that's my thought on this. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See you. Bye.